Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I am joined virtually by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart and my best friend Matthew Thomas. And today we're talking about gay sex, and in particular, if any of us are ever going to have it again. We're also going to talk about episode 1 of Journeys. So let's get started. Himeros Live is brought to you by Himeros.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Himeros.tv is an erotic playground for gay and bisexual men with weekly explicit videos featuring authentic man-on-man action. Each video is co-created with gay sex experts to evolve your experience of sex and sexuality through pleasure, connection, and exploration. Join Himeros.tv for 20% off. That's as little as $11.96 per month at himeros.tv/pod. That's HIMEROS.tv/pod. Himeros.tv, it's like porn, but better. Hey guys, welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, stuff.
I know.
Stuff is going on. Before we get into it, I do want to do a little preamble that we discussed this off camera, that the three of us, I mean, basically we have the same access to information as all of you guys do, and none of us have any particularly relevant experience or expertise in the field of infectious diseases and so on. So we're not going to use this time to speculate or make ourselves crazy. We will, however, be talking about our experience with this and how it's impacting us and our communities and the people we love, and what the implications of that may also be. So, having said all of that, how are you guys doing? Matt, are you still working? Are you in an undisclosed location in a bunker?
I am still working, but I am no longer traveling for work. So
Okay.
I can go to the office or I can work from home, but the company will not allow us to travel right now, and we're not allowed to travel for the rest of the month, but it's looking like it's going to be longer than that. But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
What's the feeling on the East Coast? Because are you in New York City right now, or New Jersey,
Yes.
New York City?
I mean,
Yeah. What's the feeling? Are you guys having to shelter in place, or are people really freaked out?
It's funny because prior to today, I didn't really see very many people wearing masks on their face.
Okay.
But today, when I stepped out for a minute, just walking around the streets of New York City, like every fourth or fifth person that you see has a mask on their face.
Mhm.
So there's been a sudden shift, especially in the last 24 hours, with I'm being in the automotive industry, and with the dealers that I work with, a lot of them are taking like Governor Cuomo's advice, and instead of just sending people home and adjusting hours so that way you have more than one shift working through the day so you can employ everyone, dealers are firing anywhere between 50 and 75% of their staff right now.
Wow.
The largest stores that I have, which are some of the largest stores in the country, are just letting people off, or letting people go. And it's really unfortunate. And it's really not in my opinion, it's not the way to handle it. It's only been a couple of days. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't even know like what are some of the resources that are going to come through from on behalf of the government. And people are making like very hasty decisions that are making people's lives even harder right now. A lot of my friends are in the hospitality industry, from working in hotels to being bartenders and waitresses, while they're chasing their dreams of music or acting, and they don't have jobs right now. Don't know how they're going to make money. I know someone who does hair, and reluctantly he was like, you know what, I have to go to this client's house because I can't afford to turn down money right now, because his salon is they shut it down.
Now, are restaurants still open? Like, are people still eating at restaurants? Like, what's the state of it?
You can do pickup and delivery from a restaurant,
Okay.
or but you're not. I have not come across a restaurant that's allowing you to sit down and eat there.
Yeah,
But
and you
will
guys,
not stand and wait.
you're not required to shelter in place yet, right? In New York City, okay. Yeah, because Finn, you're sheltering in place. Yours was what, Monday that it started?
Yeah, Monday. Monday afternoon is when I got the message. Yeah.
And ours, I think, was a day later, Tuesday. So we've been just like even the idea of like walking around and like it's like all of that is like a distant luxury. Like just
Dude, I know. Yeah, it's like I mean, in a lot of ways, like I guess that things haven't changed so drastically in my particular world, other than like I haven't been like I typically cook my food at home. I typically like I go back and forth between my office and my home office, but more than anything, it's like this like the atmosphere around me that I'm really aware of. I'm like the gym is closed, so I'm not going to the gym, but like I'm just in my house and I'm just really aware of like all of the struggles that a lot of people are going through, because I am taking a lot of my work online. Like most of my clients are all like, oh yeah, let's just not miss a beat. Let's just keep appointments. And I'm like in my apartment all the time. So that creates its interesting challenge with getting space, for both me and my partner. But I think more than anything, it's like for me, just being aware of what people are going through right now and like seeing the radical changes like all over, like from local all the way to federal level. So just bringing up a lot of stuff, and like this idea, like to like kind of suspect and fear, like walking the dog, even I'm like, can I get close? Am I too close to these people? Like it's a mindset that I haven't really had in my own self before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, first of all, your dog must be thrilled because he's probably like, "Why is everyone home all the time?
Right,
This is so great." I was running in the park next to my house 2 days ago, and there was a guy walking his dog, and there was a mom with a young daughter, and everyone's kind of like dodging everyone and like doing this weird like they like jump out of the way as I like run by because they don't want to like breathe the air that I'm breathing. And anyway, so this mom and her daughter and the dog and the guy, they stopped like 10 feet apart, and as I was about to run by, and the guy goes, walk around me. And the mom was like, oh, I'm sorry, my daughter just wanted to pet your dog. And he goes, there will be no more petting. Like, Jesus Christ. Like the girl's probably traumatized. This new world we live in no longer has joy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it like hits me on some kind of like level of anxiety. Like for instance, I've seen this in articles, but I'm also experiencing it totally myself. Where it's like, I know I just washed my hands. Should I wash them again? Like, oh, well, then I touched the handle and I wiped that down with bleach yesterday, but I should probably do it today. And I don't know. Then I'll wash my hands again after, like it just like, it goes on. And then like coming back from Whole Foods, I'm like, oh, I should probably wipe down the almond milk with like a sanitizer. It's this awareness of hypervigilance that it's exhausting kind of.
Yeah. You find like I find that I'm being really, really unproductive. I might get like 2 solid hours of work done per day, but like I'm just very distracted and not like focused.
Totally. Yes. And also like kind of like in a grief process, I think, about things. Yeah. Like I feel like it kind of hit me today. I have been working out outside and I finally got my groove there. There's a park, and I go over there and I also have like a weighted vest with like 45 pounds worth of weights and like a military thing. And I work out outside and it feels really fun. But yeah, it was just kind of hitting me. I'm like, I don't want things to be different. And I mean, last night going to bed, I was like having a hard time like sleeping because I was just feeling kind of sad. Like this sucks. Like not just being in the house, that's fine. It's more like just like the fear and the panic and people's experiences and the federal changes and just everything.
How's your family doing, Matt?
I mean, everyone's fine. I mean, my perspective, I think, is different from both of yours. I travel for a living, so I never have an opportunity to be home. So for me, being home 2 weeks in a row, I mean, and like initially in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's a treat. Like I actually get to be home and sleep in my bed for a full 2 weeks. I haven't had that in over a decade.
Right.
And,
Wow.
you know, but on the flip side, my worry is more of the economy and,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
people getting their jobs back and how long it's going to take for for us to really recover from this. Like, I'm doing two things every day, no matter what. I am getting actually three things. I'm getting an unbelievable amount of work done. I am going on like LinkedIn and like taking like a class and learning something new every day, or
Mhm.
brushing up on like Excel and getting better at that. And then three, I'm taking my money and I'm investing in the economy. I mean, honestly, it's the best time to invest right now, as shitty as it sounds. But like those are like it's a shame that there are a lot of people that are just out of work and trying to figure it out. I'm blessed where I don't have that problem, but I mean, I feel for so many people right now that they're just waking up and we're talking about quarantining and staying
Right.
home. And oh, by the way, now you don't have a job. How are you going to pay your bills?
Right.
Right.
Because rent still due, you know,
Rent
like,
Yeah.
too. I
yeah.
saw this joke that someone posted, but they were being serious. It's like the building, the luxury building that I'm in, they're not offering any of the amenities anymore, but my rent's still due. Like what?
Mm.
Like what's going on? Like what am I paying for?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Finn shared a really like uplifting, empowering, well, and challenging quote.
Mhm.
Who was the author of that you shared yesterday?
Let me
Like
see. I can tell you.
Jerry something. And I shared that with a friend of mine. He was like,
Yeah.
okay, he's like, my friend's mom just lost her $14 an hour job. Like, like I'm supposed to what? Like tell her that we're going to heal on the other side of this, you know, like there's a certain privilege
Mm.
that I think is being amplified by
Mhm.
an experience like this. I mean, in Palm Springs, we have 21 businesses that are open, 21 essential businesses. I think it's the same as San Francisco. So it's like gas stations, grocery stores, doctors' offices. Like if you're a
Mhm.
waiter, you're unemployed.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like what's been so scary in all this is how quickly it's all happened.
Right.
Like on Monday morning, I was at the gym.
Yeah.
Today, like it's Friday or it's Thursday. What? It's Thursday. Oh my god!
Right.
It feels like it's a different lifetime.
I think that's like. Oh, you want to go ahead?
Go for
Well,
it.
that's one of the things that I think is so disconcerting for all of us is because, I mean, I think I alluded to this last week. For me, it's like coming to terms with like the inherent vulnerability of being alive, because we don't really, our society is very, very much like opposed to like really sitting with death fear. And it's so much like, you know, sociologists really describe it as like a denial of death in the way that we live. We don't really have to really be in this, you know, it's like, oh, I just keep doing the thing I do. I earn my money. I like whatever. I like plug into all the consumption that I enjoy. And, but then like something like this, like overnight almost, it's like,
Right.
boom, like everything's like, what? And like, it really unravels this identity of safety and
Yeah,
where
nothing
that
was ever
comes from.
certain.
Right.
Nothing was
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
certain. Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh wait, I have to get this out of my own like internal self. And like, yeah, that's hard whenever it feels like yeah, it's just, and I don't try not to look at the news because then I can go into like a negative space. I mean, on the positive side, like seriously, it's so beautiful outside today in San Francisco, and like the skies are so clear because there's no pollution going on very much. There's some upside, but yeah, you have to like look for it. You have to look for it.
Yeah. Matt, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, I think we need to just practice some sense of like resiliency, though, too.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, on the flip side of this, there is an opportunity for us to think about the things that we've wanted to do that we haven't had the time to do, or feel like we can't make the time to do, and suddenly that time is presenting itself to us. So, what are we gonna do with it? You know?
Totally.
Yeah. I've been trying to forge a new routine for myself. And I think one of the things that has worked in my favor is I think since college, I've lived in something like 50 or 60 different like houses, apartments, like cities, locations, just traveling around. And like whether it was Argentina or Toronto, or even Sydney, I lived there for a while. I would always have to I'd be plucked into a new situation and have to create a new routine for myself and figure things out. And so for me, like now knowing that what I usually do has been disrupted, it hasn't been that challenging to try to figure out, okay, like I'm going to work out from home and in the park and like kind of craft whatever my new morning looks like. And what I've been so surprised at is how quickly the days have been going by. Like they haven't been stretching on. And I've in the morning I've been doing what is it, Athlean X? Is that the YouTube channel? Yeah.
I love him. Yeah, Jeff Cavalier.
Finn sent a video. So I've been using that for my like morning workout. It's called the Perfect Home Workout. If you guys want to search for it on YouTube, it's pretty comprehensive. And then I also ordered a home gym for my garage because
That's awesome.
I just want to be like, I'm like, it's not going to come in probably for another month because everything's super back ordered. But, and I've been taking walks with my elderly neighbor a few times per week. And, anyway, I think what's really hard for me in this situation is that the thing that I'm craving the most, like the thing that I really want when I'm scared or frightened, is the same thing that we're told we can't do, which is touch. So like that's what's hard.
That's what it seems like. Joe Court posted today on Facebook and I loved it. He's like, why don't, instead of calling it social distancing, we call it physical distancing, because we need to increase our sociability right now to like augment the connections that we have instead of just getting trapped. And even though it's digital, I mean, I have been FaceTiming people I'm cooking at night and just like, hey, I'm cooking my beans. I just want to say hi to you and like try to make it like, and that feels good, you know?
I've heard it called social solidarity instead of social distancing, which I also like.
Yeah, I like that too. And not calling it like lockdown, that kind of, yeah.
There's been a zillion different studies about like how important touch is to humans and animals in general. And like, I've seen like whether it's babies with their moms or like being touched through massage, like, and then all the negative things that can happen when touch is denied. There's even like a term called skin hunger. And like and Finn, it's great that you live with your partner and you have pets there, but like I live by myself, and like we're supposed to be sheltering in place. Like at a certain point, doesn't one start to like wither, if you're not touched? And
totally. One thing I was thinking too, like what Matthew is, or maybe you were saying actually, like there is a certain amount of privilege in being able to like last it out, or like not having the immediate pressures around it, and that's all true. Right, exactly. Like, oh, I'll get through it all. But there's something about like this idea of like when leveling mechanisms like this come into a society, be it natural disaster, or there is like some binding together of all of us. And like for a long time, like I used to listen to like Joseph Campbell lectures, and he was saying, like, he's a mythologist and anthropologist, and he was saying like, we don't have like a global myth. We just have all these nations with their own independent stories and belief systems and political ideas. And so like something like this is exerting a selective pressure on the globe. And I know climate change is, but a lot of people just think of that as this like distant thing, or like it's not affecting their Thursday morning. But this is like an immediate effect, and it's causing people to like look at the world like less divided, and like world scientists are working together like in a jiffy, like all together at one time. So there's things that are happening that they're creating a global myth out of it. Hopefully that will trickle out into like climate change awareness and just governments working together. I don't know if you've been watching any of Trump's comments this week.
Well, what is to that point, like what's the overwhelming, like what are you feeling? What's the overwhelming emotion, Matt? Like are you scared? Are you hopeful? Like what are you feeling right now?
I mean, I'm not scared. I have a lot of things to say about this. I'm not scared, but I feel like the media needs to do a better job of scaring people, because I don't think people are doing a good job enough of self-quarantining. When I saw this video of a woman who was 34 years old, sitting in the hospital, no pre-existing conditions, and she was on a ventilator and said that she needed this because she needed it to breathe. That scared the hell out of me. And I was like, oh my God, you're someone who's in the same age group that I am, that is healthy, doesn't have a pre-existing condition, and she needs this machine to help her breathe. And you can turn on the news and see people in California, people in Florida are at the beach, or people are,
oh my God,
are enjoying their spring break right now. And they're like, well, if I get Corona, it's no big, I get Corona, but I paid for this and I'm going to party and I'm going to have a good time. I feel like people aren't getting scared enough about what is going on out there.
Young people, especially.
So, you know, there's that. But, you know, I also think like we could get caught up in all that's going on, but we could also look at this and say, well, I have this time that I didn't have before. How could I use it? And I think that there's some really amazing stories of people who are rising above whatever's going on. Like, I mean, I'm not a big drinker, but like there's my friends keep inviting me to this virtual happy hour that they're all doing at 8:30 tonight. You know, where they're all just gonna FaceTime together, have some drinks, and play some games online. You know, there's Barry's Boot Camp and Planet Fitness that are offering virtual workout classes twice a day for free. You know, you could watch, and you can. There are things that we can do that are great stories and allow us to connect with one another that go beyond Trump, the government, and the news and whatever they have to tell us about what's going on, where we can still stay protected and, you know, make the most of this time.
I've noticed that my Facebook feed has been, which is just, you know, friends, people from college, whatever, people that are at home, like the creativity in what they're doing. One of my friends has been uploading a new choreographed workout each day. So each day he like teaches himself a routine. Another friend who like doesn't have a background in video has been like writing songs and recording like little music videos in his house each day. Like there are things that are, didn't Shakespeare write like one of his best works during the plague? Like there are things that are, you know, inevitably going to come out of this, and there is an opportunity for creativity. Finn, what's the overwhelming emotion that you're feeling?
Oh, it's like well, it comes and goes. It depends. Like today, I'm just really tender. I'd say, like really tender. I'm with it, you know. I'm like with what's happening, but it does change. Sometimes I'm very empowered, feeling like we're gonna make it. This is what it is. Just here we are today, you know. And then sometimes I'm like, oh no, what's happening? Oh my God, the National Guard's getting employed. Oh my God, what? People are buying guns. Oh my God, what? Like, you know. So
yeah,
it changes.
This is the quote that I shared in my e-newsletter earlier this week. Probably you guys might have seen this. It's been circulating on social media. And the people stayed home. This is by Kitty O'Mara. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. Which is very, very optimistic. And again, also very privileged. My cousin, I sent it to my cousin and she replied with her own version. She was like, and the people stayed home and they drank and they lost their jobs and filed for unemployment. It didn't have insurance or money saved to make rent. So my mom said to me, I was kind of in a little bit of a mood. My mom said to me, she was like, oh, for crying out loud, your grandfathers went to war. They're just asking you to sit on the damn couch. She was trying to put it in perspective, which is shocking that my mom has become the voice of reason in this. Because I mean, you know, my mom, like, she is not someone that I would look to for like calm amongst the chaos.
Yes. And if she's finding calm, we can get it together.
Like, seriously. So have you guys cried at all?
Almost.
Matt won't
I
cry.
Yeah. Have you seen that like books like from the New York Public Library are like downloadable for free?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, like 300,000 books.
I do want to say if Matt cries, that's when like it's over at that point.
Well, you know,
It's the
part of it,
barometer.
you know, like part of the thing for me though, like my dad was a conspiracy theorist. He always drilled that shit in my head. Like I spent a long time like really running away from politics deliberately because I was like, I fucking can't have that conversation because my dad's a whack job in a lot of ways. And then now, like hearing those voices from people, like it stirs up stuff in me, you know. I'm like, oh God, like, you know, what it that like that's where those like negative things are coming from in me. Because I don't personally, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm sheltering in place. I feel blessed. I have what I need. I'm really, really fortunate, and I'm happy to comply with their wishes. Like I'm not going anywhere except to walk my dog. But yeah, it's like everything else going on around us in the world that makes me feel like nervous.
Well, yeah, I just think about the people who go without, like the kids who were going to school because that's where they got their meals, and now they can't go to school, and they're stuck in a family and home environment that isn't safe and isn't good. Or the people that are living on the streets who I was able to give food to on Monday nights, and now I'm not doing that, and I don't know what they're getting throughout the week.
Right. Yeah, they were probably counting on that meal.
Yeah, these are the things that if I do, like, if anything, if my headspace ever turns negative or problematic, those are the things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
You're in contact with it so much already.
Yeah,
I had one cry a couple of days ago after I sent that email out with that quote. There was a paragraph at the end of it, and I said, if you're in Italy, which you know has been the hardest hit, now there's a bunch of other countries that are also getting there. But I said, reply to this email with your passport or some form of like photo ID, and I'll give you a free membership to Himeros TV for a month. Just something that like, you know, you can enjoy and maybe be a source of distraction for people. And my inbox filled up. And I was just completely like overwhelmed by it. And people from other countries, a couple people from Spain replied, and they're like, well, we're actually really hard hit too. And someone from Iran emailed me, and I was just kind of like overwhelmed by that. I don't know. I really want to think of creative ways to leverage whatever resources we have to help people. And I think there are things that each of us can do to bring comfort. And one of those things, I guess, that's available for me is helping people use this time to experience excitement and joy through Himeros. One thing that we're making available for you guys listening at home for free is, and this is something that we recorded in January. You probably remember us talking about the virtual retreat live stream that we did. We're going to make it available to anyone who wants to watch it. It's 6 hours long. So if you're sheltering in place or you're at home and you want to do something to evolve your experience of sex and sexuality, we'll put the link in the podcast description, but it's himeros.tv/tour/live stream, all one word. And the temporary password that we created for the week is called, it's all one word, not alone. So NOTALONE. So you're invited to do that, and hopefully not more than 100 people will be watching at once because they told me that it would crash our site. So please be judicious about what you're watching.
They like really milk those cock strokes.
So we are all in this together, and we do want to hear about your experiences and how it's impacted your life and where you're at. So you're invited to leave us a voicemail. You can call us at 612-470-5729. That's 612-470-5729. And I think we'd be especially interested in hearing about what your strategies are for getting through this and staying inspired and being creative, and some of the ways that maybe you're spending your time. Whenever this ends, my question for you guys is, how do you think that we will be like changed or impacted by this? Like once we get to the other side, whenever that is, how do you think things are going to be different? How will we be different?
Well, I think that's dependent on our outlook and what we do with the time now. You know, I think that's going to determine how we're going to be different. You know, the biggest thing is what some of us are doing now, Monday through Friday, staying at home. That's what our weekends look like now too. And that hasn't hit a lot of people yet. It's like, well, I know for me, I think, what am I doing this weekend? Well, staying at home. This is something I've been doing all week. And, you know, what do you do at that time? You know, how do you get creative? And then once things do get better, do we actually adjust? Do we find more of that quality time to spend with ourselves? Does it make us more whole and make us, you know, give us a better outlook to deal with other people whenever we step out of our house? Like, I think there's a potential for a lot of positive change and growth within ourselves, but it's all dependent on how we use that time now and whether or not we choose to be consciously aware of the power that we do have.
It seems impossible that we would snap back to like I do think that this experience is gonna, depending on how long it goes on, I think it's fundamentally going to change our society. I think like in a country that felt very divided, it seems short of like an alien invasion, there's nothing that rallies people together so much as having a common enemy. What is it, like the enemy of my, and what is it? The enemy? I don't know, there's some quote that's not coming to me, but the enemy is no longer Democrats or Republicans. It's this virus, right? And that maybe in some way it might bring us closer together because of that.
Can I tell you though that something that I think is like absolutely disgusting is the comments and the memes and the videos that I see of people making fun of people of Asian descent.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
The one thing that, you know, Donald Trump said in his speech, I don't think it was yesterday, but maybe the day before.
The Chinese virus.
The Chinese virus.
Yeah.
And today they actually showed pictures that someone took of him behind the podium that showed that he crossed out the word coronavirus and put in Chinese in his own speech.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that about?
But, you know, but there's another piece to this that to me, you know, makes a situation, it just adds insult to injury. And it's that a lot of these videos that I find online, I'm a person of color, and seeing other people of color making fun of people of Asian descent that, quite honestly, in some of these cases aren't even Chinese. To me, it just really upsets me and makes me so angry, especially when I see people of color, where it's like, you know what it's like to be made fun of. You know what it's like to be marginalized and treated differently and being told that you are less than, and you won't. I can't explain how much it just upsets me to see that.
Yeah.
And calling it the Chinese virus only further speaks to that point. I even had a coworker of mine who actually called me after Trump was answering questions from journalists at the White House, and someone asked him, "Why are you calling this the Chinese virus?" Well, that's where he was like, "Well, that's where it originated." And my coworker's telling me the story, and he's like, "Yeah, Trump is right. It's where it originated. That's what we should be saying." No, that's not what we should be saying. It's not the Chinese virus. Like, this started between animals. It just so happens that it happened in China, but it's not a Chinese virus.
It's not
good.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like it's so like bizarre for me to think about, like, because I thought when I was studying anthropology a long time ago, I had these kinds of thoughts often where it's like, from the air, there's not really like such a thing as like a state, really. It's like the land is the land, and it just keeps going to the next part of land, and like we've decided all this stuff out, like deciding like this country versus that country. Yeah, and I know we operate, and I'm not jettisoning all the importance of like organization, but I do think there's something about like this little virus, right, that's like breaking all of that down like in an instant, and where it's just like, wow, that's so fabricated. So my hope is that, like, I guess going forward, that we continue to just create a global community where things like the environment really do matter to us, and get leadership that really can back that up and do it. It's bizarre. It's like a virus, and it's erasing like the reality of like nations.
There's a sick also reality in this, that like, remember how it seemed impossible that we were going to curb global CO2 emissions enough to meet the Paris Climate Agreement? Right. Well, I think we have. We did it in 2 weeks. It didn't take us 20 years or whatever the hell the goal was. Like,
oh my God, right?
Here we are. So
yeah,
I do think on a serious note, when we get to the other side of this, that like there's going to be a lot of need for grieving and mourning, but I can't help but think that there's also going to be some sort of resurgence of joy and love and excitement, the likes of which I don't think any of us have ever seen, and probably hasn't happened since like the end of World War II, like that, that when the pendulum has swung so far in one direction, that when it comes back, it's going to be really powerful.
I just hope it teaches people to wash their fucking hands. There you go. Like on a regular basis. I'm serious.
I know, but like, what if you washed them and you just washed them like 10 times already, and you wonder if you do it again, and then you like touch your doorknob?
And then for some of those people, that's the first time in their life when they wash their hands 10 times.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
My hands are like chalk. They feel like fucking chalk because I've been washing. Do you remember chalkboards? Like, that's my fucking fingers.
I don't care how ashy my hands get. I'm going to wash my hands every second I get.
There's like a really rad documentary called The Venus Project, I think is what it's called, about this. He's an engineer that like is really wanted to design cities for a long time in urban cultures around principles of like permaculture, and it's really awesome, his vision. And he has like, I guess he's put together small communities of this, but he's wanted this to be widespread. So I hope that we start to invest in those sorts of cities, because his ideas are amazing.
Oh, Finn, I'm ready to move to wherever the hell you were.
Me too.
Finn was text messaging me that he's gonna like start a cabin somewhere and grow vegetables, and
don't tell him what I'm doing.
And fish. I'm like, okay, where?
Like a tilapia tank.
Yeah. Is anyone gonna buy my house in Palm Springs? I don't think so at this point, but let's just go start a new life.
Dude, I'm not kidding. At some point anyway in my life, I do want that existence. So
it is appealing. Yeah. All right. I'll be on your commune. We'll be like it'll be like a cult, some sort of like.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk about this.
Will be our minister.
Yeah. I don't think Matt's coming anywhere near our commune.
I'll pass.
All right. Let's talk about this week's video. Journey Season 2, Episode 1. So it did seem kind of trivial releasing this now, but it was in the schedule. And to my earlier point, I think that maybe this can be a little bit of a distraction and a source of excitement or joy for some people. And Season 2 is a big departure from the first season. Season 1 was pretty dark. And this season has a lot more humor. It's a new genre, a new cast, new storyline. And this season we meet Desmond and Otto. And you guys can watch a free preview on Himeros.tv. I highly recommend it because these previews are on point. We did a really, really good job with the previews. So, or you can join Himeros.tv to watch the full length video. So it opens with Desmond and Otto having a threesome. Desmond is played by Adam Ramsey, and Otto, the star of the show, is played by Andre Donovan. I also uploaded a first look onto my YouTube channel. And you can see the director, get some of the backstory. It's done really well. Finn's in it. I'm in it. I think you guys will like it, so check it out. And a big inspiration for this season is Fleabag. Excuse me. There's a really clever storytelling device that the main character uses in Fleabag where she like addresses the camera directly. and then at some point, at least one of the other characters becomes like reasonably aware of the fact that she's doing it, and that kind of comes more into play in later episodes. But in the opening threesome, we see that Otto is kind of the odd one out in this threesome experiment that they're trying. The two other guys, his boyfriend and the third, are connecting like a lot more intensely, and obviously it's kind of overplayed and exaggerated a little bit to make the point. But my question for you guys is, have you ever been in that situation? Like, have you ever been the odd one out in, I mean, I guess in a very literal sense in a threesome, but it also happens all the time in like non-threesome contexts too. Like, like in a conversation or like at dinner, and you're just like, I should just like, like excuse myself. Like, have you ever been in that? Matt, you're nodding your head.
Oh yes.
Do you want to expand on that?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm interested in seeing the next couple episodes to understand their point of view a lot better before I like jump the gun and give my opinion, because I already have one. But
not you.
No, I mean, never me. But no, I think that I can very easily put myself in his situation. Never in a threesome, but there are other examples of in my life.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the odd one out. 100%. 100%.
Finn, have you ever been the odd one out in a threesome?
Yeah, I totally have. And this actually maybe an angle you wouldn't have thought of, but when I had a wife a long time ago, we used to swing with a couple that we met online, and it was like a total classic. Like, we met them for dinner and drinks and had sex with them, a man and a woman.
This is Journey season 3.
Oh my God. It was really awkward for me. Like, I got kind of drunk that night and was having a hard time getting it up, and it was just like, it was not a really fun, positive experience for me. But then I like said yes to doing it again. Anyway, we had awkward sex with them twice, and we just were like, it's not really for us. Well, like about a year later, that couple broke up, and the guy, like, he was really sexy. Like, I had this crush on him. He was like a doctor in Dallas, and like he like hit me and my wife up and was like, hey, I want to come over and hang out with y'all for a little while, you know. And we're like, oh, okay. And my wife was like, we're not having sex with him, just so you know. Like, we're not gonna, like, you know, he's a straight guy too, you know, so he wasn't really interested in me. But we're sitting there talking to him across the room, and my ex-wife is just like, oh my God, like laughing and like flirting and like flicking her hair, and I'm just like, what do you mean we're not having sex with him? We're practically like getting naked right now. Like,
you're about to like whip a titty out.
I know. It was like we went to the bathroom, or he went to the bathroom, and like while he was gone, I was like, I thought you like didn't want to have sex with him. She's like, well, I mean, he's like really, I mean, he's changed a lot. He's really cute. And like, something about her like was really awakened, right? So we ended up in bed with him.
I'm not like dating a woman.
Oh my God. We ended up in bed with him, and like it was just like he kept like it just wasn't really exciting for me, but I just wanted to let them, you know, play with each other. But he kept wanting to include me, and he'd like reach over and like grab my leg or like he didn't touch my balls and dick, you know, and was like trying to get me like to feel like attention. But every time he would do that, it just felt even more like I wasn't there, like I'm being like pitied, and you know, oh, we're still thinking about you, but like he's like fucking her, and it was just, yeah. So that was my time to be sitting on the sidelines. That was probably the more sidelined I've ever felt in a three-way.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of threesome experiences, but the most of the ones that I've had have happened like later in life, and I'm usually, well, I guess not always, because Chad and I had a couple threesomes. I'm often the third, so it's like a couple and then me. Like there was a couple that I was hooking up with in Palm Springs. They've since broke up, but I was like the third. And so when you're the new flavor,
right,
you get all the attention.
Yeah, and I would make a very conscious effort to, even though almost always more into one guy than the other, which I was, I would make a real conscious effort to spend like 50% of my attention on one and 50% on the other. I think I'm a very good person to have a threesome with. I'm just putting that out there for our listeners. So
because you're egalitarian.
yes, I'm very aware of it. So I'll fake it if I need to, but you're both going to get the same amount of attention. After the threesome, Otto and Desmond, they go back home, and Otto is just completely shut down. Like, doesn't want to talk about it. Like, yeah, it was fine, whatever. Like, it just completely like closes it off. Obviously, these guys have some communication issues, which we'll see surface and be addressed in future episodes. But instead, he eats a pizza and then regrets it and tries to work it off. That's probably the only aspect of this episode that I found relatable, was like the emotional eating context.
That's so funny.
I don't find it's interesting because when this was written, I didn't necessarily feel this way, but I don't find, like, seeing it acted out, seeing it portrayed, I don't find Otto, the main character, to be the guy who's like clearly kind of jealous. I don't find him to be that relatable. And I like talking about my feelings and my emotions, and I don't get jealous in that way. And I think I relate more to Desmond, if anything, in it. Like, I find him more likable. But did you guys relate to any of the like the storyline, the characters, or anything that was coming up? Was it like, oh, I see part of myself in this? Maybe eating the pizza to feel better about yourself?
Oh my God.
Again, the jury's still out. I need to understand.
Oh, come on.
More. I mean, I will say, like, I'm actually the complete opposite. I totally understand where Otto's coming from. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Of like, what's the point in speaking up and saying how I feel when I look at the situation and it's like, you don't have enough forethought to even bother to even think about me, but I'm doing this thinking about you. I feel like in a lot of ways I live that life. So for me, off the bat, I can definitely understand why he feels the way he does. I just don't know if I'm understanding his character completely yet, or understanding why he has this point of view.
Yeah. And to your point, like when Desmond walks in the door after their threesome, he looks at Otto and says, that was great, right? Or he was nice, right? Like, were you that oblivious to the fact that your partner was like completely
when in
excluded?
reality he's not oblivious. He's asking what he's asking as a leading question to get his partner to talk about it, because he knows how his partner feels, but he doesn't actually want to have the conversation. So it's like, oh, let me just test the water and just ask this random thing, which me, if I'm his partner, it's only going to irritate me more. You know that there's a problem, let's talk about it, but you want to still skirt around it and try and say something as if you're saying that, like, I'm trying to understand, but no, I really don't want to know.
Right. I love what you're saying. You're on fire today. I'm loving it. I agree. Like, I related to all of the pieces, you know, like I related to each side of that situation. I think what it highlights for me is, like, I mean, I've had an experience in the past, for instance, the boyfriend, where we hooked up with one of my fuck buddies, and that boyfriend and me were like experiencing a lot of difficulties in our relationship. And like, that moment really highlighted it, where I was really connected to my fuck buddy. But like my boyfriend was like really not connected to me, and I could really feel that, you know? So it brought it all to the surface. And so, and I see that in a lot of the guys that I work with too. It's like they want to like play with certain kinds of arrangements in the relationship, and, you know, playing with other people will highlight where you're shut down to each other. So I like in Otto and Desmond, when they're like, I love what you were saying, Matt, because like, is a leading question, because he knew he could have been like, you know, I really want to connect with you about that experience, and like, how was that for you? And I was wondering how you felt, because it seemed like there were things going on for you. That would have been a very genuine, vulnerable ask. But like, they're kind of like in a power struggle that's really not being expressed, you know, in the open. So that's when you're like playing with fire, you know. Not that security and just like shutting down is better, but like, it's definitely like a volatile situation to bring in if you're not communicating or being open. Like, they aren't in this episode. They're not being very skillful about their communication, you know.
I also feel like that's probably how most people, like how a lot of relationships are. Like, like people aren't like great communicators at how they feel, and just often shut down. And Yeah, so it does feel realistic. Like it's unfortunate, but also realistic, which is part of the way we created the story this way. One of the things I didn't like in it, this really like still bothers me when I watch it, is there's a line where Otto is working out after he eats the pizza and he's just frustrated. He's feeling invisible. He's feeling not wanted. And he like pinches his stomach and he says at some point, he's like, maybe I just need to like accept my obesity.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you have like the worst, like most horrible body dysmorphia, like it is very apparent that Otto is in like extremely good shape. And like he would also know that enough to be like, okay, I'm not obese. And
Right.
I think I actually, the part that annoys me the most, I think I actually wrote that line in when we were like making edits, but it was meant to be delivered sarcastically. Like, I should just like, and it was delivered in a way where it sounds like he believes it. He was like, I just need to accept my obesity. And I'm just like, okay, so like this man, like, I don't know, like it just seems like it makes him kind of like unlikable as a character. Cause you're like, it, like, are you completely crazy?
Yeah, like totally out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
You also gotta like think like, and I don't know that like everyone watching this is gonna think this critically, but what he's saying is what he's actually saying in his head. We just, as the viewers, are having an opportunity to hear the conversation that he's having in his head.
Right.
So would he be so obnoxious to actually say this out loud and like in like a mixed group, or is this just something that he tells himself?
Right. Yeah, because because it is, we're hearing his thoughts like in this.
And he's kind of over the top a lot anyway. I mean, there is an element of it that like he's kind of, even like how he eats the pizza, you know, it's like really funny, like the editing on that. Like I laughed when that so there's kind of a comical thread that runs through it. So I did take it like it was to be funny myself, but I know what you mean about his delivery. Like it sounded like he really believes it. But I mean, I talked to a lot of gay guys that would say something like that anyway.
But on the flip side of that, he's like, stop staring at my bulge. And I was like, well, granted, like you are not your penis, but he's staring at your bulge. Is he attracted to you? Why do you think he's not into you if he's staring at your bulge?
Right.
But again, that's just like a little piece. There's so many pieces.
And more pieces to fall.
It's the power struggle, the fucking power struggle.
Yeah, and guess who's in episode 2?
Oh my god!
It makes his acting debut. Finn, you're good in it too. Did you see it in the preview, Matt, for the next episode? Yeah,
I'm excited. I've only seen the preview. I haven't seen like the actual episode, so I'll see it next week.
Ooh, it's a good one. It's really good.
I do want to plug a book. Thank you for that. But like, if to people that are listening and are going through these sorts of relationship dynamics or experimenting with their partner or wanting to or whatever, it doesn't even matter if you're in a monogamous relationship or in a an open relationship with no boundaries. This book called Designer Relationships is so good. And it's really a short read, but it's really helpful and succinct and has really good resources for guys that are wanting to just explore open conversations with their partners and implement strategies.
Designer relationships?
Yeah, Designer Relationships.
Awesome. All right. Well, stay tuned for episode 2 next week. Let's answer some questions. If you guys have any questions, comments, you can send them to davey@daveywavey.tv, or you can call our hotline at 612-470-5729, or toll free 1-800-GAY-FUCK. No, that's not what it is.
I totally want to like call manhole or whatever, that phone sex line. And we've talked about this before. And
we
like
should call it live on the podcast.
I was gonna say we could like play some of the like I don't know, is that unethical?
I think
play some of the
be in
voice.
like a one consent state or something, like, because California, we couldn't do that. We couldn't record it here. All right, so the number again is 612-470-5729, and here is our first voicemail.
Hi guys, my name is Lee. A few episodes ago, you guys asked for the results for the BDSM test, so I wanted to give mine. 72% voyeur, 69% non-monogamous, 66% switch, and 53% vanilla. So there's that.
There's
I
that.
actually wanted some advice from you guys. I am a sex positive ace female, and for me that means that I have no problem, watching porn, reading sex, or having petting, kissing, but I really have no interest in having sex or being penetrated. But I am willing to give my partner what he needs or they need. Because I understand that sex is an important part of a relationship. I have no problem opening the relationship up or having a poly relationship or anything like that, as long as everybody's happy. So I guess my question for you is, how realistic is me looking for a partner when I am an ace person? I'm not interested in sex, but I am willing to open up the relationship. So I hope that you guys have some ideas. Should I be adding keywords to a dating site or going to specific places? Thank you so much for any help you can give me. Night.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great voicemail. Finn, you're about to say something?
No. I will sometimes the audio is difficult for me to make out what was being said. Can you phrase the question just succinctly?
Yeah. So I think this person was saying that she identifies as an asexual female and enjoys relationships, but doesn't enjoy being penetrated or having sex.
Right.
But is also open to poly relationships and her partner having other partners. I mean, in my book, I'm kind of sign me up, because the more time I spend dating and the older I get, the more I realize that sex in a relationship, it's not actually that important to me. I look to my partner for emotional support, for love, for conversation, for connection, cuddling, all those things. And I often get sex from other people, because the relationships I'm in are open. And there's probably a lot of people like myself in that situation. And the only thing else I would add is that it is sometimes difficult to balance how you prevent your partner from feeling like a roommate. So you just need to express intimacy and connection in ways that still feel romantic or erotic, even if you're not fucking. Connect with that person in ways that you don't connect with other people.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, and thanks for rephrasing the question. And I do actually think, to this listener, I love this question now that I understand it more fully. I would say there's a difference between what you're doing sexually, which is a behavioral thing, and what your erotic orientation is, which is what it means to you and how you really are with your own thoughts and your own sense of eroticism. Some people have a big overlap there, and some people it's very disparate. So you sound like you're really clear on, you don't want to be penetrated. That's not really exciting to you, but you are open, and also interested on your test too, like a really high score on voyeurism, which is kind of an interesting opportunity to maybe play with that aspect of your eroticism and watch your partner, do stuff and be involved.
Good insight.
Having emotional connection to the sexuality that's being expressed, but there's not everybody wants everything to be done to them all the time, but can really appreciate it in their partner. So I think, poly is could be a good solution around that. There's an awesome book called More Than Two by Franklin Vo. That's a good resource on poly life, and also online community FetLife. It'd be a good place to look for potential partners or people that are interested in exhibitionism, or, there's just a lot of really awesome online resources out there for people. It's just hard to find them sometimes if you don't know about them, but yeah.
Cool. Anything else to add? All right, next voicemail.
Hey guys, Junior here, long-time listener, and I love your show. You're very genuine, and just the way you come off is very non-judgmental compared to other podcasts I listen to, which don't listen to anymore. But my question is, how do you deal with bullying from the gay LGBT community? My sister came up to me and said, why do you guys treat each other so badly? You already deal with so much from the straight community. I would think that you would be together. And I want to know, I've dealt with lots and lots of bullying, and more social media bullying than ever. They say stuff behind their screens, but they can't say anything to my face. And I'm a very strong person, but it's gotten to the point where it's too much. And it's gotten so bad that I'm distancing myself from the gay community, and it makes me super, super sad. I love my chosen family, but it's just gotten so bad that it's hurting me emotionally, which then hurts me physically. Tired. I'm mentally tired. How do you guys deal with the bullying that's going on in our community today? Thank you so much. I appreciate your input. Have a great, great week.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say that community is like a flexible term, right? I mean, in a sense, we're a global community, and in a sense, we're community as gay people, but also community is like a earned thing, like in your daily life. So I don't know, the people around you, if they're like showing up in a certain way, like I just wonder like who you're surrounding yourself with. And as far as how I deal with it, like I try not to associate with people in that way, you know, like if somebody's a bully, I just don't I look for people that I really connect with, and that doesn't necessarily take me to the quote unquote gay community always. Like sometimes that's with like women or people in different generations, you know, like I have a different definition around that. I think I don't go hang out with just like my gay boys and participate in banter at the bar necessarily. And yeah. Is that?
Yeah. What do you think about it?
I think you deal with it the same way that you deal with it from people who are homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
You address it and you don't accept it and you stand up against it. Of course, you know, it's within reason. You have to make sure that you feel like you're in a safe space where you can do that. I would never tell anyone to put themselves in harm's way. And it's not about yelling and cussing as much as it's about making an educated point, and you don't necessarily know if that's going to stick with someone. Sometimes at the same time, people do just need to be cussed the fuck out, but there's a time and place for all of it. But, you know, I would say to this person that the only way that we're going to create the change is if we are the change. And, you know, it's not with a flip of a switch. It's one person at a time. I do think that we have a responsibility to change the world that we happen to see in front of us. We have a responsibility to stand up and to advocate and to speak up for someone who feels like they can't speak up for themselves. I don't necessarily know if it's going to change what's happening in our community or in the world as far as bullying goes, like completely change it, but you'd like to think that it's going to make some level of an impact. But I do know that by doing nothing, it's going to stay the same.
Right. Yeah, I might not be apt to cuss someone out, but I do think I agree with you, Matt, in the sense of, well, yeah, I know you are, to lead by example. And last week when we were filming at our Himeros project, I watched my first episode of Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race. I know this is not going to be a popular opinion. I own that, but I only saw like 5 or 10 minutes of it, and I just like I couldn't get through it. Like it was just like the girls were so mean and like so catty, and I know that a lot of it's done like in a playful way, but it just it reminded me of like when I went to a gay porn conference years ago, and I was so surprised by how friendly, how unfriendly a lot of the studios and the people that I met were. That like I was just under the impression that we were all going to like lift each other up. We're all gay men, like creating this kind of content, and that was not what I encountered. And I think that some of that meanness is because gay men in general are very hurt. And sometimes like the more hurt we are, the more I think we tend to like react in ways that hurt other people. Like if all we know is meanness and pain, then all you have to give the world is meanness and pain. And when you look at it through that lens, like it does give you, I think, a sense of compassion or maybe like sympathy for the person that's spewing it. And I also think like in that situation of the porn conference I went to, like a lot of why I experienced that was there were a lot of fragile egos and insecurities. And if you are authentic and you are secure in yourself, like you just don't feel a need to bring down other people. So I think, to lead by example, like one of the ways to stop that is for like all of us to heal first with ourselves and to lead by example, to inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my 2 cents. Or we have some more questions, but I'll save that for next week. And again, remember to call in, tell us how you're surviving all this, what your strategies are, what beautiful things you're creating, how you're spending your time. We would love to hear from you because all we have is each other. So next week, we're going to be discussing Journeys episode 2. Matt, where can people get more of you?
DM me on Instagram, RIVERSMA. I'd love to get questions from you guys or just talk to you. I'm not doing Lunch on Me for the moment because of the coronavirus. But I'd love to hear from you all.
Also, if you do listen to the podcast, we would love like if you tagged us in your story listening to it so that we can see you listening to it.
Oh yeah, I'd love that.
Totally.
That would be fun. Yeah. So at Riversma, at Finn Deerhart, right?
Deerhart, yeah.
And then at, what is mine? Official Davey Wavey, official Davey Wavey. I don't even know what mine is, but anyway, you can find it. It's out there. Finn, where can people get more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.com.
Awesome. And remember, you can join Himeros.tv for 20% off at Himeros.tv/pod. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, more to come.